Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to NXT with Najee, a part of the Whip Show, the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast. This is episode 48. I got it right this time. In the last episode, I had to, do some editing. But that's right. We're at episode 48. We are nearing the season 2 finale. Some wild stuff happened this last week on NXT. And as per usual, I am not by myself. I'll make some noise for Mr. Pluggo from Between Two Beards. How you doing, brother?
What's up, Najee? Thanks for having me back on. Yeah, you got one half of the beards today.
Got one half.
Sorry it's not the better half, but I'm here. I'll try to hold it down. But yeah, what's up, man? Good to be on the show. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you for joining me, brother. It's been a little bit. I think the last time we saw each other was in Indy at the old GCW show.
At the Rumble, yeah. We're sitting up there. You just popped up out of nowhere, and you were this cricket fan of the night.
I was. I heard I got a pop. That was pretty cool.
You did get a pop in the press box. We were all there like, oh shit, Najee's guys. Oh, sorry. Well, can I say that on here?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I can make the beep happen. So here we are.
We were all like, oh shoot, Najee's on TV. He's got better seats than all of us. So he made out pretty good.
Yeah, it worked out. That was a crazy thing, man. But so you do your work with Between Two Beards. You also do work with Love Wrestling CA.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you into out there in the old wrestling world? How are these people how can they find you? Who are you?
I'm Pluggo. So you go to @Pluggo on all social media platforms. You search Pluggo as it's spelled Pluggo, and my face pops up. That's me. I don't think I have any fake accounts out there. If I do, I'm flattered because I'm not that special. I also do a little thing called For Exposure on the weekends on Love Wrestling. It's an independent wrestling podcast. So I tend to try to dip my toe into as much wrestling as possible while still trying to maintain being a father of four and holding down a full-time job. So yeah, but that's mainly where you can find me, Between Two Beards, Love Wrestling, doing the thing.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for doing what you do, my friends. Please make sure if you are listening or you are watching that you are tapping in. We're Between Two Beers. These guys are fantastic. But we're going to jump in. Hey, no problem, brother. No problem. We're going to jump in to this past week's episode of NXT. Now, kicking off the show, we had Joe Hendry. That's right. Joe Hendry, one of the most talked about people in the wrestling world. Believe it or not, even though he fell off, he came right back, and here he is back at TNA. He is tagging with Hank and Tank, and they are going against the ever so vicious and surprising, and I'm still under the impression that Trick has something to do with it, Dark State. So we have the 4 members of Dark State, but only 3 of them are wrestling in this match. Now, I said this before the night started that I had Dark State winning the match because I have a hard time seeing Dark State losing anything anytime soon. And that's actually what ended up happening. Dark State won via interference from Trick Williams, kind of taking Joe out of the fray. Now, with this whole Trick and Joe situation going on, how you feeling about that? You thinking this is going to be the thing that Trick Williams and Joe Hendry both need to keep themselves relevant, or what's up?
I think it's a way to keep Trick in the mix in NXT. Obviously, I think Trick has surpassed what he can do in NXT, so to speak, but I don't quite think he's ready to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, Joe Hendry, partnership with TNA, go fight for the TNA championship, right? I love Trick. I actually was one of the people that have been pleasantly wrong on Trick Williams ever since when he first started. Yeah, I was like, oh, he's Mello's mouthpiece. That's probably about all he'll end up being. And now he's a bona fide star. But they need him in NXT because the men's division is a little lackluster at the top. And then there's so much going on the main roster. Yeah, go feud with Joe Hendry for a little bit while we test out Joe Hendry, because the rumors are, if he ends up leaving TNA, he's immediately signed WWE. So let's work Joe Hendry in the mix. The Dark State point that you made, aren't they hitting it a little too on the head when they mention Trick Williams' name? Dark State pops up.
Almost every time.
It's almost like they want us to believe that he's the leader, but maybe he just doesn't like Joe Hendry.
Yeah, I think it's in a weird way, almost like the Joe Hendry effect when it comes to Dark State, because if you say Trick's name, then he appears. If you say Dark State's name, then they appear. It's kind of wild how they've seemed to mesh those things together. But I agree. I do think that when Joe does end up leaving TNA, I think he's going to have the Jordan Grace effect, where he's just going to pop right over to NXT, if not main roster. With the WrestleMania appearance by Joe, I think this is a good way to make him look strong. because obviously the match made him look weak. I thought it was perfect. Like it couldn't have been a better moment for Jay.
Yeah, sure. If you're a TNA diehard, you're like, oh, there goes our world champion
Yeah.
gets squashed. But if you're a wrestling fan, you're like, he just was in. He had a WrestleMania moment for 70,000 people with one of the greatest of all time. That's pretty cool, right? That's a pretty awesome WrestleMania introduction. Yeah, he got taken out, but he got to do his spot, and everybody
Yeah.
cheered.
And it
And
was a
we all
great
love Joe.
WrestleMania moment. It was a great
Yeah,
WrestleMania moment,
and
especially
his
with the
shirt
camera.
sold like crazy.
Yeah.
I guess he had like the top selling merch of the night. So I think he made out pretty good.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. But all right, now we're going to move on to match number 2 of the night. A little bit of a story behind this one. This one we have Zarya versus Kalani Jordan. Now, Kalani is still chasing the North American Championship, obviously, because it was her baby. She was the very first one to ever hold it. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time seeing her keeping her eye off of that thing. Now, at the same time, you got to remember, Zarya is also chasing after that title. Yes, she's loyal to Sol Ruka, and we know that, they're going to pull that trigger sooner or later on it. And I think the way they're building it up is fantastic. And at the end of the day, the end of this match, we have Zarya looking fantastic again. And Kalani didn't look weak during the match because Zarya is not somebody to mess with. And if you can have the crowd believing that you might win it for a second, I think you're doing a great job, Kalani. So moving on to this one in this storyline, what are your thoughts on the whole Zarya versus Sol Ruka matchup that they're clearly building up towards? Do you think they're doing a better job than the whole Austin Theory Grayson Waller thing? Do you think it's a good pace here?
I do think it's a good pace here because you could tell, like, at least the way Zarya is playing it, like she genuinely likes Soul. I mean, she gave it was like the slightest quick glance at that title. Now I know the screenshot that everybody saw when they, you go through the feeds and you're looking at NXT, it looks like she's staring it down, but it was just a
Hmm.
subtle, like she looked up as she looked at Soul. So I think it's great. And I thought Kalani did really well. I really thought that this was more of a match to showcase Zarya. I mean, they let Kalani get her stuff in, but I mean, yeah, Soul and Zarya, man, it's gonna happen, and I think we're all gonna love it because both of those women are fantastic. So I'm here
Yeah.
for that.
I'm a little scared that they like might add a third person to the mix. And I don't know who, but like I really don't want it. I would love for that rivalry to just like naturally build up
Maybe,
from
maybe
friendship
they
to
try to extend it, and they add somebody into the middle of it. Maybe somebody's chirping in Zarya's ear or Soul's ear, vice versa. You might get that.
yeah. Because I don't know. I feel like when Zarya does win it, I think she won't get it off of Soul. That's just my opinion. I think
Hey,
somebody else will be there. The old triple threat rule will apply, and that's just
ah,
my guess. That's my guess.
then we get them after that.
And then
Okay.
eventually Zarya gets a title, and then we can do it full circle, like Soul coming back for the title. I don't know. Food for thought. I just
I don't hate it.
hey
I don't hate it, Najee. You're the man.
yeah.
It
Hey
makes
man,
sense.
you're the man. But all right, speaking of men, we got this huge, gigantic men's battle royal that happened, and I am going to sit there and pat myself on the back for this one because my spidey sensors were tingling on Miles Bourne, and good lord, was I right. Miles Bourne ends up winning and becoming the number one contender for Oba's NXT championship. But before we get too into the Miles Bourne part of it, we do have to give a shout out to Javon Evans because that dude is unreal and he can take over a match with one move, dude. Like just one move.
Yeah.
We
You
also
can
had
take over a match and a Twitter feed
oh
with just
yeah.
one
Shout
move.
out. Shout out to whoever made him delete those tweets, man, because that was entertaining. If you didn't know, Javon Evans had a little bit of a social media back and forth with Ricochet, and I would like to say Javon won that one, but we won't stick on that one for too long. Um, but also in this match we have the Evolve superstars. We have some LFG superstars that showed up and truly showed out. Shiloh Hill had like 2 eliminations. Sean
Mm-hmm.
Legacy got some work in. You had Swipe Right in there. You had Chris Island in there. A lot of representation from the different shows that have just recently started for NXT. So that was amazing to see. But dude, Miles Bourne, how are you feeling about them just going for it and giving him the push? Just Randy Orton style push. How are you feeling
My
about that?
spidey senses were not tingling, as you say. I was genuinely shocked they went Miles Bourne. Now, don't get, and I maybe that's like too strong of a word. He's talented, but they again, when we got down to the nitty gritty of the battle royal, it's the Ethan Pages and the Sean Spears, right? The people that you're like, oh, they might run this back again, right? Trick, they might run this all back. What else are they going to do? Who else could they? And then they pulled the trigger on Miles Bourne. I'm excited for the guy. I think it's a fresh new matchup for Oba. I loved the segment that he did after the fact with Dempsey, how Dempsey never got really in the ring, and then Dempsey tried to take his spot, and even Bourne was like, we could go if you can beat Oba, we'll make it a triple threat. And then Oba's like, I don't do triple threats anymore, which I thought was interesting. So Oba just decided he don't do triple threats anymore. But it is nice. It's nice to see that they're going to put a fresh face kind of in that title mix, and we'll see how it plays out. I guess Dempsey's taking on Oba this week, just because.
Yeah. So if he wins, then he might be able to take Miles' spot at Battleground. I think that's the stipulation to it.
Okay. I hadn't seen them name the stipulation yet. I know that it was kind of a speculative thing, but I wouldn't want to even mess with that. I'd like to see Dempsey take the loss, kind of piss him off a little bit more, and then Miles Bourne goes in there and has a really good showing. But ultimately, I don't think he's the guy that takes it up from Oba. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. You didn't even mention Elias, bro.
I know.
I'm sorry, Elijah.
I'm sorry. I know. We said, so we started chanting Elias, and they cut us off. They cut the feed.
Yeah, I was watching it. I go, are they cursing? Are they mad at Elias?
No, we were saying walk with Elias, and I think they thought we were saying with Elias. So I don't know, but I don't know if they're not allowed to say that name anymore. But all I know is that Kevin Owens is sitting somewhere losing his mind because this is now the third name that he's been called. But yeah, dude, that was a pretty interesting surprise. I will say that the pop was not done justice on TV. I will say that it was not done justice on TV. They need to have one of those meters like they did for Backlash running for NXT at all times.
Yeah, when the crowd is popping.
There's some moments.
When Tavion Heights ran into the ring, I thought he was going to attack Miles at first
because
he ran in so fast.
So now that's one thing that I am worried about too with this whole Charlie Dempsey thing happening. Yeah. I don't want them to split up no quarter catch crew. I feel like Charlie could be out of it, which would be okay, and I would understand that because then you could bring in a William Regal and maybe create that storyline finally. Yeah. But with him and Tavion working together and Ren there in their corner, dude, like it's too good to get rid of. And I really hope that him winning this doesn't separate everybody. Granted, Tavion by himself would be a dog.
Oh, for sure. I thought he might have been the one at first that was going to split first, but it looks like it's going to be Dempsey, and I really like Charlie Dempsey a lot. So I think anything he will do, I like his style. So
put him and Noam back in a program together.
But I think him losing on Tuesday and like getting even more fed up with this, and Miles is getting all the love and all the praise for the next couple of weeks could be a really fun wrinkle.
Yeah, and win or lose, this is going to be amazing for Miles. This is going to be amazing for the culture. This is going to be amazing for the people that he's inspired. Like, just a lot of people that are going through different things that the world might be a little bit tougher. I don't want to use the word disability because that's not a nice word. But shout out to Miles Bourne. Congratulations. Best of luck to you, my friend, against Oba Femi.
And now power slam is going to be awesome. God, power slams Oba. The roof is going to come off that place now.
This is the time where he has to use the RKO. This is it. This is when it's okay. You need to use it. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next match, which is Jada Parker versus Carmen Petrovic. Now, Jada is coming off of literally a year full of almost made it. Like, that's the best way I can put it. She's always just been one step away. And for Carmen, she is the best what if scenario I think that NXT has right now. Because like sometimes she looks amazing. And then sometimes it looks like she needs just a little bit of work. And I think this is a really, really good matchup between two fantastic people who might not know exactly where they're headed after, say Battleground or going into the next PLE. But Jada Parker does walk away with the win. This is also the first time we've seen Carmen Petrovic without Ashanti, the Adonis, because they have broken up.
He's a dog.
He's a dog. He's a dog.
That Ashanti.
Now Thea actually came to the aid of Carmen, which kind of created a little bit of a distraction leading up to the end of the match. So I'm not really sure where that's going to go. Maybe there's going to be some sort of thing between Jada and Thea going forward. But Jada wins. And now that leads me into this question for you. What do you think is next for Jada? Do you think she goes after the North American title? Do you think she still chases the NXT title? Do you think she's just not chasing a title? Like, what works for her in your mind?
I don't know what you do with her right now. You might be a better gauge of that in terms of you're there every week and you're watching, but there's weeks where I'm like, like this, I think she's not done with Carmen or Thea. I think that they set it up where this is going to continue. And I think that's okay to build some like non-title women's feuds to kind of start building up again. Because you kind of got to build, like you said, a bunch of what ifs with Jada. So like build her up again, get her hot again, get her racking up some wins. This would be a good way to do it. And then honestly, like I love the idea of her as the North American champion.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she's challenged for the the big title, the NXT championship, but I think that that's a little full right now. They got a lot going on at the top of the card, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be opposed to a Sol Ruka Jada Parker thing with even with Zarya still in the mix, right?
Maybe
Like
she's the
kinda,
third.
maybe, yeah,
Maybe she's the third.
if you were going to talk about a third, she gets a couple wins over Thea, Carmen, maybe another one, and then you throw her to Soul, and then you still have Zarya, and then maybe that's where Zarya messes up, or
Yeah.
who knows? We shall see. But I really like Jada Parker, and she is like you talk about not doing justice for Miles Bourne. I don't know if the TV does justice for the pop you guys give Miss Parker.
Oh yeah, they definitely don't. There's no way because the Miss Parker thing should be 1,000% louder than what it is on TV. But I will say that that's kind of how the production works in general for NXT. And I've talked to some of the people that work production at the show and asked them why they do that. And I think I think we're just a little bit of a risk sometimes with some of the stuff we say. So
No, not you guys.
hey, never, never, ever, ever forget the time that the "FU Mellow" chants almost legitimately got us kicked off of
Yeah,
USA.
I
Like
do remember that.
they almost cut the full feed and stopped the show right there in its tracks. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Hey,
But
maybe we'd be nicer, but I
we
like your
are.
guys'
No, I
vibe.
think we're nice. I don't think even like when Cora was talking about the people talking about her, I don't think it was all of us. I don't think it was all of us. I don't think it was all of us. But anyways, so congratulations, Jada Parker. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next for you, Carmen. We are also rooting for you too. Very excited to see what
Yeah,
happens for the both of you. Hopefully, a title is in one of your futures, if not both.
a lot of bright futures, a lot of promise
Lot. And
in
speaking
that
of the
undercard.
future, speaking of the future, when it comes to the women's division, who is going to be the one that takes down Stephanie? And in this main event, we have Julia versus Jordan Grace for the number one contender spot. Now I have to say this about this match. Jordan Grace had a couple tough moments to where she legitimately dropped Julia on her head twice.
Yeah.
we You could have heard a pin drop inside of the PC both times that it happened. And it was emotionally taking a toll on Jordan, as you could see at the end of the match, because she didn't even know how to celebrate. And here's the ending. She wins. She didn't even know how to celebrate winning because she felt so bad for some of the things that happened in that match. And I'm really happy that the internet didn't decide to destroy her or bash her or be very rude because yes, it was a botch. Yes, it was a very dangerous botch, but in this business, these things happen sometimes. And Jordan deserves all the credit because she kept it together. She stayed professional, even though she was emotional, and she safely finished that match with Julia. So big shout out to Jordan Grace.
Mhm.
What are your feelings about this match? It's a banger of a match, dude. It's a
That-
dream match on paper. How do you feel about it?
well, that's what I was gonna say. I think the internet wrestling community was very understanding to Jordan because it was such a banger of a match, right? Like it was outside of those moments, absolute like classic NXT main event, perfect main event, perfect pairing. I think in Julia being able to just keep on going after those, like showed a lot of grit on her end. And again, just like I've never been a wrestler, I've never trained to be a wrestler, I don't ever claim to be one. I don't think it'll ever happen. But yeah, those things, it's a second, maybe she was a second too early, or Julia didn't rotate the right way. There's a lot of things that could have went wrong in those spots. And yeah, Jordan took it hard, but it was an awesome main event. I think ultimately the right person won. And I think, and I'll say it here, Najee, and I'm going to put it on here. I think Jordan Grace is the one that takes it off Julia because, or I'm sorry, Stephanie McCure, because we have seen Stephanie McCure on Monday Night Raw 2 or 3 weeks now, and she's getting the biggest pop of anyone.
Rhea
And
Ripley level.
I think that I think, and I said this a bunch of times on a few different podcasts, I think they realized when they signed Julia and Stephanie that they've got two great talents. I don't think they expected them to explode the way that they have in terms of popularity. And I think it's just like no offense to NXT, but like we got some room on this main roster for some
Yeah.
new exciting women's talent. I think Stephanie Victoria is on her way up, and
Yeah, I think
that's
Jordan
a
becomes a
bummer for
face,
you
man.
guys because she's so good.
Ah, don't remind me, dude. Like
Yeah, sorry,
she
bro.
has been she has been such a blessing to have there, and
Yes.
she's even just given Booker T more life, as we all know. So like it's it's
Yeah,
gonna be sad to see it.
I like it.
Ah, ah. It's gonna be tough to see them both leave. I did originally think Stephanie was gonna stay down because of the language barrier, but like you said, dude, you can't. It's undeniable what she's been doing for Monday Night Raw when she pops up and the way the crowd is responding to her like she's their Rhea Ripley essentially. Like so, I think
And that's
Jordan ends
all.
up.
Oh, good.
I think Jordan ends up becoming the face of NXT for the women's roster for a while, and I think that is a very very solid human being to have be that face. She's a powerhouse. Yeah, they've made her seem not invincible recently, but you put that title on her, dude. That's a whole different juggernaut. Like,
Yeah, but I think having her not be untouchable is a good. Having a little bit of a we could get her just so you have that sense of doubt that it's not like, oh, she's going to hold this thing for 3 years.
we piss her
But
off first, and then she becomes a problem.
yes. And then to the Stephanie point about, and Julia, just to add a little bit, that's something that we as like WWE fans complain about all the time. Oh, they never push like new women's stars. It's always Becky, Charlotte, and Bailey, blah, blah, blah. Here you go. We're going to give you these two fantastic stars to interject into this mix. And I think that women's division is just going to be strong. And I don't think that they're going to mind dropping women down into NXT here and there. I think it's going to be more of a fluid thing going forward. So
I
I
think
think
they
it's a
learned their
win-win for
lesson.
all of us.
I think they learned their lesson with Shotzi a little bit too. It's just like not everybody that you're having a creative issue with needs to go to NXT. Not everybody that is sitting in catering needs to go to NXT. You got to read the room. you
Yeah.
you just got to read the room. But yo, that is the wrap up for this week's NXT. A lot of fun, a lot of things to look forward to going into tomorrow. This is Monday as we are recording this. A lot of things going into tomorrow night that I'm very excited about. God, this Miles Borton thing has me just so pumped. Even though I know what it's gonna end. Like I feel like I know how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
But good Lord, it's gonna be a lot of fun. But now, my friends, this is the part where I get to ask my friend Pluggo a couple questions here. I'm gonna keep it NXT related for this week, if you don't
Uh-oh.
mind. So now this one is like a three-part question. There's three answers for this one. My first question is, who do you think on the NXT roster has it? Who do you think has next? And who has the it factor, but is like one step away from becoming that person? So those like who has it, who's next, and who needs work?
Who has it but
Who
needs
ha
work?
who yeah, like who has it right now?
Is
And
it
then the
is it
second one,
cheating to say Ricky Saints has it?
no, that's not
Because he
cheating.
he
It's not cheating.
absolutely does, and that's why they're avoiding him in the battle royals. On the men's side, for me, it's Ricky, and on the women's side, it's Sol Ruka for me, for sure. If I had to
Mhm.
pick sides, because I think she does have. I think she's come a long way. I love her style.
All right, then
So
after
those are
these
my.
two, who do you got? Who do you think has next? Who do you think's the next in line after those two for you?
I really like Izzy Dame a lot. I don't know how long that next will be. I don't know if
I
she's like
like that pick.
next, but maybe like next. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I see that with her. I don't 100% know when that next is going to happen, but
All right. So Izzy
that would be
Dame
my
got
pick.
next for Pluggo.
Yeah. And then what's the last one?
The
Who's got
last one is
it?
who's got it, but just still needs a little bit of work. Like who's almost there.
Man, that's tough. I mean, is it Tavion? Like he's
Oh
got
shit,
it,
that's a good one.
but Tavion, like we all see, he's got the physical tools, but can he carry? Would he be able to carry it on the mic with say a Trick Williams? I
Okay.
don't know yet. I haven't had a chance to really see it, but I could see him breaking out and being a huge star.
All right. I like
I
it. That's
do,
a
I
great
do, I
answer.
do like Thea Hale too, but I don't know if that's the one. I think that would be more of the next.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Those are tough. I should have when you gave me the out to ask me ahead of time. I should have took you up on that so I could write
He
some
told me I
names.
could do it on the fly because he's a pretty fly guy.
That's
The
true.
direct quote. All
Oh god,
right,
people are
my
gonna be like,
friends.
"Don't have this guy back on the show.
Nah, never. All right. So now, last question.
Sure.
If you could give Shawn Michaels a 1 through 10 ranking so far for the year for 2025, what would you give him? I know 2024 was a fantastic year for Shawn Michaels in NXT. So far, how do you feel he's doing? And if there's anything you would change, what would it be?
Ooh, Chef Michaels. He has been cooking in 2025. Has everything I've watched been a hit? Probably not. I would say he's at like a solid 7 right now. We're only in May. There's still room to grow.
A lot of room.
I do think that they need to figure out that next men's star. Because we've exhausted Ethan, we've exhausted Trick, we've done all those. We need to find that. Like Miles Bourne is a great. Let's see what he can do. Mm-hmm. But you put Oba in that spot, and we need to find who's the guy that's going to beat Oba, right?
Yeah,
because Oba is so good. I want to see who's that next star. Is it Ricky Saints? Does he have a long North American title run? I don't know. But
does he have a long NXT run? Is the question.
That's another great question. Exactly. So as we kind of saw in that men's battle royal, they used a lot of Evolve and LFG talent. In women's battle royals, they tend to not do that. It's usually the roster because they had such a deep NXT roster at one point. They are a little lacking now because I need you to come on. You know what? I'm going to give you the Pluggo. I need you to come on tomorrow night and explain to me why you broke up metaphor like that.
Yeah, for real.
Listen. If we're being honest, Sean, that's why you're at a 7. Because that was just heartbreaking. And then you released 2 of them for no reason whatsoever.
Yep.
Shame on you, Chef Michaels.
And left Noam looking like the end of the Fresh Prince.
Yeah. He's like, I just got back. What happened? But no, I think overall NXT's doing a good job. And the PLEs never miss. And the shows overall have been the last month has been cooking for sure.
Yeah,
so
dude, it's been fantastic. Before and after Stand and Deliver has been a ride.
Yeah, 100%.
A ride. Well, yo, thank you so much, Pluggo, for joining me today, dude. It has been an absolute honor to have you as a guest. If you would love to plug yourself in one time so that everybody listening and watching can find you and support you, my friend.
Sure. Thank you first and foremost for having me, Najee. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm glad we could get this worked out and I could be on your show because I love you. And you are fantastic. So everybody go follow this guy. But if you want to follow me, I'm at Pluggo. Like I said, on all social media platforms, you search Pluggo, my face pops up. That is me. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. with JPJ for Between Two Beards. If you want to know what we got going on the show page, go to @B2Beards on all social media platforms to see what we've got going on there. Every weekend, usually Saturday mornings, I'm with Blair Pacheco of the Grainmaker podcast called For Exposure. We talk the independent wrestling world. So we dive in there. And then if you want to catch any writings I might do, it's up right now on lovewrestling.ca. And then I, like you said at the top, I work for Love Wrestling. So I'm generally there popping into whatever I can, whether it's a Reacts or Quizplex or whatever, or the brunch gimmick, whatever we do over there. So
that's right.
I try to stay busy.
That's a busy man right there. That's a busy man. But yo, thank you guys so much for listening. Please make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment, interact, follow. Just listen. I don't care. I'm just happy you're here. All right. So my name is Najee, you guys. I have been your host for NXT with Najee. This has been episode 48, a part of the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, aka The Whip Show. Hey man, one more time. Shout out to Pluggo. Shout out to NXT. Shout out to Shawn Michaels.
Shout out to you.
Hey, shout out to me. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Until next time. That's great.
Life is for the dreamers like me. Gently down the street.